Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why some challenges in life feel way harder to handle than others, even if they seem similar on the surface? Well, this new study might have a clue, looking at how unpredictable troubles at home can mess with stress hormones and even sadness. Let's dive into a fascinating study that explored just that, asking if living in a family environment that is unpredictable, meaning bad things happen randomly, affects teenagers' physical and mental health, and if having a positive school environment can actually help protect them. Imagine your home life as a weather forecast. Sometimes it is sunny, sometimes cloudy. But what if the weather could flip from a thunderstorm to sunshine and back again without any warning over and over? This study looked at how that kind of unpredictability, specifically in family abuse and neglect, impacts teenagers. They weren't just looking at how much abuse or neglect happened, but how randomly it happened. Did this unpredictability change how their bodies handled stress, measured by a hormone called cortisol, and did it lead to more feelings of sadness? So how did they figure this out? They followed over 200 young people for 2 whole years, checking in with them 4 different times. This long-term approach, called a longitudinal study, is super important because it helps us see how things change over time. They collected information not just from these kids, but also measured their stress hormone levels, specifically cortisol, by having them provide saliva samples at different times of the day. Think of cortisol like your body's alarm system. It usually has a healthy daily rhythm, like a wave that rises in the morning and then gently goes down throughout the day. When this rhythm gets messed up, it can be a sign of stress and might even lead to health problems down the line. Now, for the clever part, instead of just counting the bad things, the researchers used a statistical learning approach. This means they looked at the pattern of the ups and downs in each kid's reported abuse and neglect over those 4 visits. They were specifically interested in the random variation, meaning the parts that couldn't be predicted from the overall trend. This is key because our brains are always trying to predict what is going to happen. When things are unpredictable, our brain stays on high alert, which can be exhausting and damaging. They also measured how safe, supportive, fair, and cooperative the kids felt their school environments were. And what did they find? When it came to abuse, the unpredictability of it, not just the amount, really mattered. Kids who experienced more unpredictable abuse tended to have a flatter diurnal cortisol slope. What does that mean? Remember that healthy cortisol wave. A flatter slope means the natural dip in cortisol throughout the day was less pronounced. It is like the body's alarm system doesn't fully calm down, staying on a low-level alert. This disrupted rhythm was linked to unpredictable abuse, even after accounting for how much abuse they experienced overall. Interestingly, this unpredictability in abuse didn't directly predict higher levels of depressive symptoms in this specific analysis. But here is where it gets really interesting. They found that the effect of abuse unpredictability on depressive symptoms depended on how much abuse they experienced in general. For kids who experienced a lot of abuse, more unpredictability was actually linked to fewer depressive symptoms. This might sound strange, but the researchers suggest it could be a sign of emotional numbing or shutting down as a coping mechanism when things are both severely abusive and wildly unpredictable. It's like a protective shell forms. However, this association disappeared when the overall abuse levels were lower. What about neglect? Surprisingly, the unpredictability of neglect didn't seem to have a significant impact on either the cortisol rhythm or depressive symptoms in this study. This suggests that the type of adversity, whether it is an active threat like abuse or a passive lack like neglect, might have different effects, especially when it comes to unpredictability. Abuse as a direct threat seems to trigger that stress response system more directly, even when it is unpredictable. Now for the protective factor, did school climate make a difference? Absolutely. They found that a positive school environment could act like a shield. Specifically, school safety and order seemed to buffer the negative effect of abuse unpredictability on that cortisol rhythm. This means that when adolescents felt their school was safe and orderly, the disruptive effect of unpredictable abuse on their stress hormones was weaker. It's like school provided a stable anchor in a stormy home life. And for neglect unpredictability, it was school support and acceptance that played a moderating role in the cortisol rhythm. Interesting here, though, is the complexity. In really low supportive school environments, neglect unpredictability was linked to a flatter cortisol slope. But in very high supportive environments, the association actually reversed and predicted a steeper slope. This is a bit more complex, but hints that positive social connections can really transform how we cope with different types of adversity. So, what's the big takeaway? This study really highlights that the way bad things happen matters. The unpredictability of abuse seems to have a more direct and concerning impact on the body's stress response system, messing with our internal cortisol clock. On the other hand, a safe, supportive, and orderly school can act as a crucial buffer, helping young people navigate the challenges they face at home. Of course, no study is perfect. The researchers pointed out that their sample size, while decent for this kind of research, was still limited, especially for looking at complex interactions. They also noted that they only looked at abuse and neglect, and unpredictability can exist in many areas of life, like community violence or lack of resources. Plus, they measured cortisol at only one time point. Future studies could track these hormone levels over longer periods and look at a wider range of unpredictable stressors. But even with these limitations, this research offers some really important insights. It shows us that focusing on the patterns of adversity, not just the static amount, is vital. And it strongly emphasizes the power of schools not just as places for learning, but as critical environments that can profoundly influence adolescent well-being, acting as a source of resilience when the home environment is unpredictable and challenging. It's a reminder that supportive systems outside the home can make a world of difference. What do you think about these findings? Does the idea of unpredictability making things worse resonate with you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown helpful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more explorations into the fascinating world of psychology. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next lab session.